I'll introduce Dr. Chris Colby to you. So this next part of today is really the how-to. So we've had the first section, which is what's possible. Now it's, how do we do these things? How do we develop projects? And we're starting off with Chris, because he's going to really just give you a bit of a 101 on how to develop projects and some of the things you need to be cognizant of. So Chris is a qualified process engineer, and he's been working for 20 years in infrastructure delivery, resource efficiency, waste, energy, water and environmental management. He's had experience developing renewable energy and biofuels, and I think you probably noticed that he's been involved with Peter on what Peter's been doing at his company. He has a great knowledge of organics, resource recovery in the recycling sector, and he's certainly done some work for green industries and for the South Australian Government on developing bioenergy and on assisting us with today's development as well. He understands the regulatory and policy frameworks as well, and also costs out projects to see what conceptually is possible. So, Chris.
Well, thank you very much, Catherine. It's great to be here to talk about this subject today. As Catherine mentioned, I'm an engineer. I'm certainly nowhere near as exciting as the other speakers. So just to add to the excitement of today, I've had to animate my presentation. I hope you appreciate it. If I could just work out how to... There we go. So really, I guess what I'm here to talk to you about is we've heard some amazing examples of people that have had some experience with bioenergy projects. But if you're interested in bioenergy, how do you start that journey towards looking at whether it is a solution for you? Well, it's a really important question to answer, and I hope that I'll be able to give you some insights today. I don't think I'll be able to give you all the answers. But before I start on that subject, I always like to think about what is the why of what we're doing sometimes than just the how. If we're going on a journey, we're ending up at a destination, and bioenergy is probably part of a bigger picture of what's going on in our economy, about where our economy is going to be over the next 30 or 40 years. So I'd like to introduce you to a couple of terms. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about them. You might want to go away afterwards and Google them, and I'm sure you're going to find out a lot of information. And the first one is the bioeconomy. And what the bioeconomy is about is taking the biomass that we produce, whether it's in agriculture, farming or fisheries, and trying to extract the highest value out of it, instead of discarding it as a residue, losing that value and potentially producing damaging greenhouse gas emissions. But even the bioeconomy is part of a bigger picture. And that picture is what's called the circular economy. Now, I don't know if many of you have heard of this term being bandied around, but the circular economy is a framework that people are looking at to see how we can conserve our natural resources. How can we use them more efficiently to reduce our ecological footprint? So this bioenergy, that is where we're going. That is your destination. So I always think it's good to start a presentation with a little bit of a quick recap on what I think we've learned about bioenergy. And I think the first lesson is that the technology for bioenergy already exists. In fact, it's been around for decades. In fact, some have been around for hundreds of years. So it's well-established technology. And it's already part of the mix. We've heard today about people that are looking at using bioenergy. There's going to be bioenergy plants, whether it's the piggery down the road that's taking its manure, putting in anaerobic digester to generate biogas, whether it's someone like Peter who's taking grease trap waste and turning it into biodiesel to use for his equipment at his composting depot, whether it's Terry that's looking to take straw to turn into electricity or heat. It's already here and it's already arrived. And increasingly, it's going to be part of our future. And there's some really important reasons why that's going to be the case. The good thing about bioenergy, the first good thing about bioenergy, is that it's great for base load power. It can be available when we need it, unlike other renewable energies such as wind or solar, that are just there when the wind blows or the sun shines. The second one is that it works really well at local and regional economies. It's something that people can use locally to take the biomass they generate and recycle it. The third one is that as it becomes more popular, it is going to become more affordable. And as the technology develops, it's going to become simpler. The way to think about bioenergy is it's just like solar panels. They were invented back in the 1960s, but it took 5 decades for them to become popular. And now 1 in every 5 roofs in the southeast or the Limestone Coast has a solar panel on top of it. Well, in 10 years' time, I suspect bioenergy is going to be very similar to that case. And the fourth one, and the most important reason why it's going to be part of the future, is that our Premier has told us so. You may or may not know, but South Australia actually has a climate change strategy, that plots our trajectory over the next 40 years to transition us into a low-carbon economy. And it's a document that I think you should look up, because in that document they talk about bioenergy as one of the key strategies to helping us achieve that, not just in generating electricity, but replacing other forms of energy, such as producing heat. So please go and take a look at it. We don't have a lot of time to talk about it, but it's something that's really important in the context of today's discussion. So that's all well and good, but how do we find out whether bioenergy is right for your business? Can it save you money? How much is it going to cost? How do I pay for it? And another really important question to ask is it just about the money? So to help us answer that, let's talk about what bioenergy actually is. Ellen spoke quite eloquently today about what she learned about bioenergy and that it comes from biomass. And biomass is basically plant material, and indirectly it's a form of solar energy, so it's seen as renewable. And when it comes to biomass, there are many different sources that are available that people can draw on for bioenergy. We have forestry, we have agriculture, we have animal residues, we have the residuals that come from industrial processing, whether it's timber, fibre, food or animal products. But we also have lots of organic matter in the waste that we chuck out at the curbside that often ends up in the landfill that could potentially be a source. And also from our sewage treatment plants, the organic residues that are collected there. And all of these different sources can be transformed by a myriad of technologies into a range of bioenergy products. I think when we talk about bioenergy, we often first of all think about electricity, okay, that we can use in our homes or in our business or feed into the grid. But there's also process heat as well that can be used to produce hot water, steam, space heating or drying. In addition, there's also the biofuels, which is a way of taking these biomaterials and converting it into a form that we can use later for bioenergy. We all know about biodiesel, it's been around for a little while. We can make it from vegetable oils, or, as Peter has demonstrated through the work he's done with the University of Adelaide, from grease trap waste. There's ethanol. We all know about ethanol, and that we're blending it in with fuels, that we can take plants that contain cellulosic or sugars and convert that into ethanol. We have wood or biomass pellets or briquettes. There's also bio-oil, where we can take biomass and turn to something that can replace the fuel oil. There's biomethane. Take an anaerobic digester, take biomass, convert it into methane, and you can use it to replace natural gas. And there are organisations in Adelaide already taking a look at whether they can use that to replace the compressed natural gas they use in their trucks and vehicles. There's biochar. Well, we've all heard about biochar, but guess what? You just don't have to bury it in the soil to increase the level of carbon and restore soil health. It can also be used to replace charcoal, and in itself is an energy source. And then there's syngas, which is a fancy name for describing a mixture of carbon monoxide and hydrogen that can produce from biomass. And that can then be converted either into electricity or heat, but more importantly, into a range of other hydrocarbons that can reduce or replace our dependence on fossil fuels in the chemicals industry. So there's lots of opportunities out there for your business to take advantage of bioenergy. But where is it most likely to be feasible right now? And this will change as time goes on, as the technology becomes cheaper and it becomes simpler and more widely available. But if I was thinking about my business and where I might find a situation that bioenergy could work for me, Here are some examples, and I'll quickly talk about them, just to give you a little bit of context. First of all, if you're off the grid, well, if you're not connected to the electricity grid or reticulated gas, you're probably paying quite a bit for your energy. Maybe you're using diesel. It's very expensive. Well, here's an opportunity. If you've got some cheap biochips or biomass just around the corner, maybe bioenergy can work for you. So if you're off the grid, just like Peter was, he looked at bioenergy as a solution and it started working for him. Another one is if you're energy constrained. Now, say you operate a business, an industry, and you need to expand. But to expand, you need to increase the amount of electricity you need supplied. Of course, you go to, I'm not entirely sure what you call that organisation, Peter, but you go to them and they say, well, that's great, it's going to cost you $1 squillion, trillion, billion when you upgrade your transformer and the line all the way down to the substation. So instead of spending your money on them, maybe you could spend it on bioenergy to help augment your energy needs. Those two examples are particularly relevant where you have a combined demand for electricity and heat. And that's because when you take bioenergy and you convert it into electricity, it's not 100% efficient. Only 30% of it might get converted into electricity. That leaves another 70% that you can actually use for other heating type purposes. And that can make it very cost effective if you can use that to replace gas, as an example. Another really good example, if you're replacing a high cost fossil fuel. Now I know the oil price is very low at the moment and that makes it extremely challenging, but as we say at Colby Industries, what goes down must go up. Now, I'm not sure if I've quite got that the right way around, but it works for me. And eventually oil prices will go up. So if you're paying a high cost for diesel, perhaps on your farm, maybe you might like to grow some canola oil and turn it into biodiesel, and it might be a more affordable solution for you. Another one is where you've got a biomass residue and it's expensive to get rid of it. You're paying someone to take it away for you. Well, instead of paying someone else, why not turn it into bioenergy? Save yourself that money and also save yourself on energy costs. Another one is where you have environmental constraint. Maybe you've been getting rid of your biomass. Maybe you've just been burying it in the soil or spreading it over to the land. And maybe that's something that just can't keep on going. Maybe the EPA's come sniffing around and said, no, you can't do that anymore. Well, then maybe you could take that biomass and turn it into bioenergy. And the last one is, and yes, this does happen, when cost doesn't matter. Sometimes people do things not for the reason of cost. Maybe it's important for your business to be sustainable. Maybe it's attractive to your customers. Maybe you just believe in creating a more wonderful, safer, happy place with kids running around holding hands, singing Kumbaya. So if you're going to take this bioenergy journey, and because I'm an engineer and engineers are autistic, we like to have a process, and I've broken it down into a 6-step process. Now, anyone that's here that's involved with a major company that delivers projects, they'll probably just be nodding their heads, okay? And this is perhaps the way I see the world. It doesn't necessarily apply to everybody's situation. But I think the first step, if you're actually going to take a look at bioenergy, is to work out, well, why am I actually looking at it? Okay, is it about saving money? Is it about being more sustainable? Is it because of an environmental requirement? Be really clear about why you're doing that, what your objective is. The next step, and I actually think this is probably the most important step, is to actually learn from and or work with others. There are so many people already that are using bioenergy, know about bioenergy. Go and talk to them, learn from their experiences. Have a chat with Peter, have a chat with Terry, have a chat with David Gidders and the other speakers that are here today. What you will learn will save you a lot of time. And guess what? You might actually meet someone that you might end up working together. Perhaps there's someone there who's got some biomass that you could use in your bioenergy plant. Maybe there's a potential customer for you who might like to buy electricity that you generate or use process heat. Or in the case from Terry Callis and the York Biomass Energy, maybe there's an opportunity to get a whole lot of people together as a cooperative to work on bioenergy. And there's lots of sources of information that you can go and take a look at. There's public information resources. Well, I don't know about you, I can't remember the last time I was at a library, but I reckon you'll go to your computer and you'll Google it, and up will come lots of reports and papers on bioenergy. You'll also find out about equipment vendors, international experiences, and government agencies that are working in that area. There's also talking to your peers, and probably the best way to meet them is through chambers of commerce, although I suspect I'm a country boy Everybody probably knows everybody down here, just like they did where I grew up. So you probably know who to go and talk to. But if you don't, there are industry organisations that work with businesses that can be the start of making that connection, whether it's BioenergySA or the Australian Industry Group. And then there's government agencies, and all levels of government agencies are working on bioenergy. You might not know about it yet. We've got local or regional development agencies. RDA have recently made it part of their charter or their mission to look at bioenergy. You have the various councils. There are various councils that are very active in this area. There's the LGA for the Limestone Coast. Then there's state government agencies. RenewablesSA has sponsored this forum today, but Prime Ministers and Regions South Australia is also actively working on bioenergy right here in Mount Gambier, working with agriculture and food processors. In addition, there's Green Industries SA. Now, if all of you are going, oh, who's Green Industries SA? They used to be Zero Waste SA, but they've been rebranded. In addition to that, there's federal government agencies. You've heard some of them mentioned already. There's the Clean Energy Finance Corporation. There's the Australian Renewable Agency. They've got together and they've launched the Australian Bioenergy Fund to provide investment or finance for bioenergy projects, a couple of $100 million there. You've also got the Department of Industry, Innovation and Science through Oz Industry that are working with people that are trying to innovate and commercialise bioenergy projects. And then there's a range of industry bodies, and I'm sure this will please Peter today, but we've got the Australian Organics Recycling Association, there's the Biofuels Association of Australia, there's Bioenergy Australia, a government industry forum, and then there's the Clean Energy Council. Hopefully, I've convinced you there are lots of people that you can actually go and talk to. So that leads on to step 3. And step 3 is to actually go and gather the information or data that you need to make a decision about bioenergy. And the first stop is to understand what your current energy demand is. What are you using? Is it electricity? Is it gas? Is it diesel? How much is it costing you right now? That's got to be the starting point for looking at bioenergy if you want to replace that current energy use. But very importantly, you also need to take a look at your future demands. I suspect I'm going way over time here, but that's okay. I am entertaining, aren't I? Okay, so your future energy costs, are prices going up? Will that help justify it? And then also your potential biomass sources and costs. Now, there's a speaker coming after me today. It's Tim Johnson. He's going to talk about the work that he did on the bioenergy roadmap. And in that, there's a lot of information about where biomass is located in the Limestone Coast, including identifying as a hotspot. There was also a report done a couple of years ago looking at mapping biomass in the southeast. So there's those resources that you can draw on. That leads on to step 4, preliminary assessment. I have a saying, if you do it on the back of an envelope and it doesn't look like it's going to work, well, it doesn't matter how much time you're going to spend on it. So do the back of the envelope first. That's going to tell you whether something's going to stack up. But when you do it, well, even though you're doing it on the back of an envelope, you've got to be reasonably comprehensive. You've got to try and make sure you pick the right technology. Tim is again going to talk about technology today in his talk, so I won't go into it. And then you've got to work out what are actually the upfront costs. Now, I think we've all been involved with projects. I think Peter was talking about it today. We started with $250,000 for our biodiesel plant. We're now up to $1 million. That usually correlates with my experience. Whatever you think it is, multiply it by 3 or 4, and that's probably where it's going to end up. There's also the ongoing costs, whether it's labour, maintenance, equipment replacement. You then need to carefully identify your cost savings and or your revenue you might be generating. Cost savings, you may not be able to get away from being connected to the grid. You may still need to have grid power, okay? When it comes to revenue, will you be saving money from what you pay for your biomass? What will you earn in terms of selling it to others if that's the objective? Remember, what we pay for electricity is a lot more than actually what people will buy it for, a factor of 5. So really important to understand that. How are you going to pay for that investment? And the last thing I suggest is always benchmark it against other solutions. Check it up against solar or wind, or maybe buying green power off the grid. That way you feel comfortable when you actually build this thing and someone comes up to you and says, you know, you could have saved more money doing it this way, don't you know that? And you can go, nah, I checked that out, instead of looking like a deal. And then after you've done that preliminary assessment and all looks good, well, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it because I'm going to run out of time, but you really go and do your detailed assessment. And that's all about bringing a project to financial close, making sure you get all the necessary approvals, you get your financing in place. Terry's mentioned today how important it is to shore up the suppliers of your biomass and your offtake agreements for customers. You don't want to get a year in and then your supplier says, no, I won't sell it to you for that, I want double the price. You want to try and lock that in so you don't have any unfortunate surprises. And then once you've done all that, well, just get on with it. Get out there with a shovel, as Peter would say. Start turning some sods. So who can help? I'm going to do something really embarrassing for some people here today. I'm actually going to identify some local people that are working in this area and get them to stand up. So when it comes to people, there's some really great people from government agencies. You've already met Catherine. And there's also Mary from RenewablesSA. Mary, would you like to stand up? Here's someone that you can go and talk to who's working in the bioenergy space. And who's this handsome character? Well, that's Andrew Hutchins from Green Industries SA. Could you stand up, Andrew? Now, the next person I've got there, I'm sorry, Andrew, I couldn't get a picture for you. I hope the likeness works well. But Andrew, if you could stand up, that's Andrew Batoski from PERS. I won't tell you everything that they're doing. Obviously, Mike Ryan from the RDA, I don't think he's here today, but he is. Where is he? Oh, there you go. I really appreciate that, and I'm sorry I couldn't put everyone's picture up there. Of course, and Kalina, again, I couldn't find a picture for you. Kalina Rawlings from Aussie Industry. Go up and have a chat with her. And then there's June. I hope I pronounced this, Sarawaka. You don't need to stand up, June. She's on crutches. Netball injury, I understand. So, look, there's lots of people you can talk to from government agencies, but also equipment technology vendors, other businesses, consultants. And then the next important ingredient to grease the wheels is money. Where's that going to come from? Is it going to come from your business? Can you get a grant? And there's probably going to be grants available for doing feasibility and infrastructure, but then also loans. And we're going to have Dan Sturrock from Arena talking about what options are available for you. And to go and find grants, you can go to Grant Assist, which is a state government website which is designed to help you find grants that are available. So just to put Catherine out of her pain, I will say thank you. And if you have any questions, please ask her.